turn to our lead story. Millions of people are being taken to the streets around the world demanding tougher action on climate change. Nishota Chakraborty is a risk and behavioural scientist, and as you can see, she's with us now. Thanks very much for your time. So let's start with the millions of people coming out around the world today. Do you think it nudges the dial at all?
I really think this is such an unprecedented global movement that really is unique. This is the largest environmental protest in history. And remember, this upcoming week is the UN Climate Action Week, and there's three major components to it. The one is what we're seeing today, which is the millions of people all over the world, thousands of different unique strikes and protests that are happening, all really rallying around this cry of this 16-year-old who is so soft-spoken but so authoritative, Greta Thunberg, who has really just had one very clear message that if we are meant to be going to school and studying, we should be studying for a future. So if we're going to do our homework, then you need to do your homework, those who are in power and those who are globally governing the world, and its climate emissions and how quickly we're warming. They need to do their job, and so that is what we're seeing, and it's been unprecedented. And here in New York at the UN, as we're kicking off this week, you can really feel the movement, and it's very palpable what's happening here.
Okay, but it's palpable. The people have taken to the streets, had their say. It does, of course, depend on what the politicians and policymakers decide at events like next week, the UN summit. What do you want to see out of that?
It's really critical this time around to take advantage of all of this energy and to really move it towards not just pledges and commitments, but scalable action. And so that is what what is being asked of all of the participants who are coming and attending, and not just those who are in positions of making decisions, but also the youth leaders, also those who have been disenfranchised or maybe not part of the decision-making process, are really creating a voice for themselves that is putting that pressure on, that is going to result not just in that, let's do this, but actually come up with a plan and figure out how to do it. Not just we need to do it, but how. This is the first time that the UN is meeting where the science is really settled, and that is the starting point. That is the foundation for these talks.
Okay, hang on. The science is settled, but America, especially its leadership at the moment, hasn't bought in, isn't as enthusiastic as perhaps countries in the rest of the world.
That's right, and that's really unfortunate, given that this is being hosted here in New York City as well, and the United States has always been looked as a leader to take these talks and give them teeth, not just have these commitments, but really come up with implementation strategies. And so given that this administration has been irresponsible and lacking in its duty as the global leader, we are looking towards the rest of the world and to some of these other voices that normally wouldn't take part in the international relations policymaking process, like a Greta Thunberg, for example. We're looking to them as alternative leadership to come up with really implementable strategies. And if that can be done in the US, no leadership is better than bad leadership. So if the US can actually stay out of the way and allow some of these really ambitious commitments to come into some real implementation, then I think then as the new administration comes in, then we can get the United States back involved. But at the moment, we're really looking to alternative leadership this time around.
But is that possible, just briefly, if the US isn't involved? China, although it's doing very well on renewables, is also hugely reliant on coal and things like that. If you have these huge nations that aren't actually involved, how realistic is any kind of change?
So the one thing that came out recently is Germany taking real steps towards recognizing that the younger generation and the Green Party, the increasing support around those sort of reasonings for what needs to happen now coming forward, that is the hope that we have and the leadership that is already being demonstrated. As the biggest polluter in the European Union, Germany has really made this commitment to $60 billion towards climate policy pledges. And so that's the kind of thing that I think we can see coming out of East Asia as well, including China.
Okay. Nishota Chakraborty, thank you very much for your time. And of course, we'll all keep an eye on those UN Climate Change Summit next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, time for a look at